I really wanted to kind of share with you, and I have my presentation here for Empower. So Empower really was kind of born from last year's presentation. Although we always had the idea to do this startup, it really kind of crystallized after we were speaking here at the conference. And Empower is our brand. It's essentially empowering people through technology. This is a photo on a beautiful sunny day in Sendai that we've included. When I first came to Japan in 1989, I had no idea that I would be here for the rest of my adult life, and essentially I've been here since then. And you know, in 1989, I didn't have an iPhone, I didn't have a laptop, and so the question was, when we started working with children that live in the homes in Japan, you know, these are children that were born in the 21st century. And the reality is children born today will live until the 22nd century. So we don't really, as both parents and guardians, et cetera, know exactly what to be teaching the kids, because the technology that they will use in the future has not been invented yet. And the jobs that they'll be applying for have not even been invented yet. So the premise of the MPO was really focusing on, you know, communication, collaboration, and being creative. But at the same time, we really wanted YouMeWe to be seen more as a social impact organization. So there's over 30,000 children living in the homes, of which about 1,600 graduate school every year at 18 years old. And so the premise of Empower now is essentially to become the recruitment arm for these children who are entering the workforce, and to turn it around and really reach out to companies and find out what sort of skill sets are you looking for and the new freshmen and women that are going to be coming into the companies, and how can we help you prepare them so that they're available for you to hire. But essentially, whether we're talking to hotels or car companies or what have you, there's many companies in Japan, especially given the fact that we have more people over 65 per capita in the world and less under 15 per capita in the world, who are looking for native speakers, who are looking for children that have been brought up in a structured environment. In many cases, a lot of the kids are also living together with children with special needs, so they're learning to, you know, get along in unique environments, etc. So we talk about Society 5.0 on the slide, where we talk about how, you know, as a human race, we started as hunters and gatherers throughout the Industrial Revolution. We're now currently in the Information 4.0 stage, but even without overly stepping about COVID, I think that the reality is we need more technology. We need to be embracing technology more. If anything, you know, the future is rushing at us. And I think the most important question is, how are we preparing the youth for the jobs of the future? And the other reality is, you know, many of the current socioeconomic methods are not so effective. You find many of them don't really take into account individuals. It kind of stifles entrepreneurship and innovation. And given the circumstances even of today, it just really is ripe opportunity for people to be innovative, take advantage of the opportunities that are coming our way, given the fact that a lot of us have had to pivot and move in a different way. So starting with the MPO, which will always be the training ground for the children that we're working with, they tend to live in the homes from about 2 years old to 18 years old. And so whilst there are such a thing as virtuous cycles, at the MPO, we really are talking about virtuous spirals. How can we do something that by doing it will actually create momentum to lift the community up, whether that be Sendai, whether that be Tohoku, whether that be Japan. And so we start with a very strong emphasis on education. A lot of the kids in the homes are getting certification in Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint. This year, really because of the Olympics, we were hoping to do more with regards to health and technology, but we ended up doing an online program where we had the kids walk around the earth virtually called the Global Challenge. So every day they clocked in 10,000 steps, and it gave them an education about geography and history of the different places in the world. Next year, we'll be very much focused on connectivity and networking. I mean, if you think of yourself when you first came out of school and were looking for that first job, I think whether we realize it or not, we're very lucky to have the network of our extended families and friends. And in many cases, the children that live in the homes that we support don't have that network. And it generally is to the extent of whomever is in the home as their guardians. And that tends to be a very small circle, frankly. Security is the next space that we should be looking at. I think as more and more people are online and there's more and more data out there, the more that we need to be conscious of data and our personal information, et cetera. But ultimately, you know, we're looking at how with the advent of 5G and possibly 6G in the future, how the technology will create more jobs and not take away from jobs, and how we can get the kids now as young as 14 or 15 to be looking at skill sets that they'll be needing for those jobs when they come along into the workforce at 18. We feel that virtuous spirals are unique because they can work independently, or they can come in different colors, and they can also work in tandem with each other. So we really feel this is an interesting way to think about virtuous community spirals, where we could be working on projects that might be affecting Tohoku, but also include places overseas. Currently, one of the projects that we've been working with is how to connect the silver population with the youth in the homes by, for example, Machan is one of the volunteers that we have, and she's, I think, actually now 85. She brings elderly volunteers into the homes to teach them how to do Excel art. And in turn, she's hoping that kids will be able to teach them how to code or how to use their smartphones more prevalently, and as well as IoT devices in the future, et cetera. But we also realize that we're a rather small company and a small group of people. And when I started in a space in 2007, a lot of the kids who are 18 were 18 are now 30. And we don't really know how to stay in touch with these kids once they leave the home. So one of the things that the board decided since last year's presentation is that we should issue shares and empower to the children living in the homes. And that would be the easiest way not only to stay in contact with them, but also have them become part of the network to allow them to be able to apply for jobs that will be out there. So all of the projects that we look at fall under essentially 3 different categories, and they all have to either be related somehow to education or health or security, and they have to complement the other work that we're doing. So just very quickly, with regards to the MPO, I don't know if everyone realizes the fact that there's 30,000 kids living in the homes. These have always been deemed the throwaway children, which is a phrase that I hate. I would rather people be looking at these children as the hidden assets in Japan. I believe more and more people will be looking for, as I mentioned, for native speakers, people who will easily be able to come into the workforce and be trained. We found through our studies, the last that we checked is, only 5% of them have Wi-Fi. And while in the beginning, when we started working with children, it was only 9% onto university. Now it's about 16% versus the national average, which is 60. So of course, if a child has the ability to go to university and the funds, we would encourage that, but we don't necessarily feel that's the end all. And so, we also feel that in the 21st century, if a child doesn't have their own device, we don't see how they're going to stay connected with anybody or anything for that matter. And so, one of our biggest efforts has been putting a computer into not only the homes, but also trying to give the children computers. And so after having issued now almost 700 computers throughout the different homes, we feel it's the best way for them not only to pursue further studies or to study online, because a lot of them have been on lockdown, et cetera, how to take career assessment tests to be looking at what kind of jobs they show the aptitude for and follow their dreams. We start this by doing financial literacy training with the kids so that they understand roughly how much it's going to cost when they get out of the home at 18. And then back in 2016, we started doing career assessment tests. So the kids are able to do a test online and then immediately see all the different opportunities that could be available to them based on their aptitude. And then very quickly sitting with them, finding out which job is interesting to them, talking to them about areas that they could study in university, but more importantly, setting SMART goals for them and working with mentors with the children. So as young as 15, 16, 17, 18, we're showing them how to get certified in Excel if they show aptitude in being an accountant. We are talking to them about coding if they're interested in being a system engineer, etc. So the three pillars now of Empower, without trying to confuse you. So the YouMeWe will always be the training ground for the kids in the nonprofit, but Empower is essentially broken into three areas, one of which is recruitment. So when these 1,600 children turn 18 per year, at least from the homes that we support, about half of them go on to university. I'd say another 45% go into jobs. And then there happens to be some special needs children as well, who we would like to help introduce to opportunities, because there are many opportunities there. And so if companies are looking to hire them, we want to be the ones that help make those introductions, and at the same time, get the feedback from the companies on the skill sets that they're hoping to see from future employees. This has really never yet come into fruition yet, but the idea is to do a YouMeWe house, because at 18, many of the children have to leave the homes. And so rather than them wondering where they're going to go, they could come into a shared house where we would be the ones guaranteeing their contracts, etc. And then it would be an opportune time for them to continue to learning software, coding, and English possibly, if they're interested. We think if we look at the plights of Japan, there's employable opportunities for the kids to be teaching the elderly how to use technology, whether that be by way of learning how to use Zoom like we're using today, or Skyping with their children, how to order taxis online, how to go shopping online, many different parts of technology, to a country that has people that live almost 117 years old. And so people who were here before radio and television don't want to be in the corner while people are tweeting and Facebooking. They want to be part of the conversation, and that's a good way to have a common language with them. We also feel that children getting out of university in Japan are kind of in a sweet spot, because they don't necessarily, essentially, if they can help by teaching Japanese online to people who we would like to come to Japan and backfill the jobs, then it would be much more advantageous for people to understand Japanese language and culture before they come here, because we need many people to backfill jobs, probably in construction, organic farming, etc. And I believe 1 million nurses was the last number I heard that we need to take care of the elderly here in Japan. So the second pillar, aside from actually hiring the kids, because we're also trying to hire the children into Empower. We just hired recently one to do code club training, for example, while he's going to school in his part-time. But we're also looking at tech projects. So for example, one of the projects we're working on with Civinth, which is one of the donors for YouMeWe, is an attendance system to keep track of the children. So it would be using a finger vein pattern reader. And essentially the children would check into soccer practice, and an SNS message would go back to the home to let them know where they are. And then when they leave, they would be able to check out and get that same message. One of our partners, Tombow, is a device that people can use as they'll be working from home and sitting at their desk for long lengths of time. And not only does it help with the circulation, but there's also an app so that you can virtually walk through different parts of the world and while sitting at your desk, still be able to get exercise. This is the virtual travel app, which we're also developing. And this is for people who are maybe wheelchair bound or have things on their bucket list that they haven't seen in the world, or children who are not able to travel. And I want to play this video for you very quickly.
Virtual. Travel around the world without leaving your home. Just choose the place, and you can teleport there immediately. People from around the world will help you to make this dream come true. They will broadcast video for you from 360-degree cameras, drones, or just their smartphones. You will be able to change the position of your operator using your voice or by a message. The whole world is your playground now, anywhere, anytime. And just imagine how useful this application could be. People with physical disabilities will finally get out of their usual environment. Approximately 50% of people affected by rare disease are children. Most of these children can't travel freely, but with Virtual, they will explore our planet as much as they want. Thinking back on their lives, 1 in 5 seniors say that one of their biggest regrets is not traveling enough. Now with Virtual, they can visit places they were only dreaming of. So we believe that this application can change the world and solve important problems such as robotization. Did you know that robots are likely to take 45% of all the jobs over the next few decades? With Virtual, people will be able to earn money being anywhere around the world. To start, you'll only need to download the application. This is definitely the future of virtual traveling. The real place, real time, at your home. Virtual. The world without borders.
Okay, so essentially it's basically a virtual travel app. So allowing people to visit countries by essentially hiring a virtual walker. So the walker walks around the area with the camera on their head, and then through VR goggles, you're able to visit it, whether it be like Egyptian pyramids, et cetera, et cetera. So I will share that later. Yeah, so some of the partners that we've signed up with is, we're doing recruitment under the Hind Group. We also have agreements with Specialized Group and Focus Core. And if anyone is interested in reaching out to us with regards to how to recruit children that live in the homes that are coming of age, please contact us at info@empower-international.com or visit us at one of the websites. Thank you very much.